94% of the Southern people never owned a slave. I don't know of any living American today that has ever been a slave in this wonderful country. Certainly, it was one of the many factors causing the war between the states. But I can show you many other factors, more pertinent, causing severe consternation in Congress at that time. The causes of the war have been debated, discussed, and argued by scholars for 155 years, and will never be agreed upon. So we're talking about feelings, not proven facts. There are groups and individuals who have misguided, resentment, want to destroy or displace all the history of those times. The names of streets, schools, institutions, and all that our veterans of that war fought for, they want to eliminate. My God, have we lost our minds? You can destroy a statue, but you cannot change history. Do you want to hide it, or do you want to learn from it? I want you to carefully consider a quote by poet George Santayana. Quote, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." Unquote. It's my understanding that Stone Mountain was purchased by the state of Georgia with a signed agreement to keep it as a Confederate memorial. By changing the street names and removing the historical flags, the Stone Mountain Board illegally and morally would violate the very essence of that agreement. Thank you.
And our last speaker is Nimuna Freeman.
Good afternoon.
I'll pronounce your name right.
Maymuna Freeman. Thank you. Hello, my name is Maymuna Freeman, and I am a member of the Stone Mountain Action Coalition. I am here today to do three things. I want to tell you a story, and I want to give you a gift and an invitation. I will begin my story by telling you that there is nothing as sure and inevitable as change. I stand before you as a daddy's girl. My father was a military man, an army soldier who literally pulled himself up from the mud by his bootstraps. My father's a proud man, a devoted U.S. veteran, a soldier for life. The rituals and culture of the U.S. military pumps through his veins and mine. As an officer of the U.S. Army, my father is one of the few black officers. He took great pride in his service. I watched in the morning as he strapped up his boots before breakfast. I watched my father rise with the sun every morning to proudly serve this country. This is one of my fondest childhood memories. Fast forward. These Sundays after church, my father and I talk about you. We talk about this board, the mountain, the military, and those flags. My father, an educated man, is a scholar. He is one who studies and preaches and lives by the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. As a military man, he says he can't understand how any governing body could support the display of the Confederate flag after the U.S. military, the greatest and most powerful military in the world, has set a tone. The tone to unite, the tone not to divide, not to display symbols that encourage hate or to promote traitors. He cannot understand, and neither can I. But you have inherited something that must change. You've inherited something old, tired, and lame. Old are those cabins and that fake plantation in Historic Square. It's dated, useless, and it's offensive. Close it. Tired. The history of hate that continues to breed divisiveness, these Confederate symbols, remove them. And publicly provide an anti-hate statement and policy, redesign the park. Lane, holding on to gone times when the whole world is changing, raise the American flag. Every veteran, all veterans, are presented and represented by this flag. All patrons can stand proudly beneath our American flag. Imagine veterans saluting our U.S. flag as they ascend up the mountain. Patrons of this park and veterans will feel pride seeing the flags of the greatest nation on earth flying above. Today, I brought you a gift. I brought you 5 U.S. flags. And I don't know if any members of this board think you are mightier than the tone set by the U.S. military. I don't know if Governor Kemp thinks divisiveness is going to last. But while this board was away, Georgia turned blue, because Georgians have a distaste for hate. I offer this board 5 U.S. flags, and I invite you to become change and raise our nation's great flag on behalf of all the people and all the American veterans. May I present you the flags, please?
Yeah, thank you. We have one other speaker, Cordelia Turner.
Thank you. I am Cordelia Turner. I was born in the state of Georgia. I've lived in DeKalb County all of my life. And every morning when I wake up, I look right at the back of Stone Mountain. This is my home. I am a teacher by trade. I taught Georgia history for many years. Education is the acquisition of knowledge, skills, values, beliefs, and habit for the process of facilitating learning. Thus, we ask that this commission and Georgia citizens be careful not to reframe history so that any group can feel better, but instead use our common history for the good of all citizens. As the Confederate forces were gray and Union forces were blue, the causes of civil conflict in our nation continues to be true. And as governance, rights, and resources, and who will govern those resources is at the heart of all conflicts. Since 1777, our nation's flag has typically changed by adding a star indicative of adding another state. In 1787, the 3/5 compromise was agreed upon by the South and the North. Our currency bears the faces of those who supported slavery and oppression. But we aren't going to burn our money, our flag, and we're not going to cut up our currency. We wouldn't think of destroying the United States Constitution. Historically, movements existed to erase history itself. In 1933, Nazi-dominated student groups publicly burned books that were said to be un-German. In the Middle Ages, books and other documents were burned and cut up for political agendas. And in 1975, the Laotian Civil War resulted in the killing of scientists, educators, medical experts, etc. We cannot change human hearts, but we can offer heart medicine by teaching truth and having the courage to stand for both in a manner that fosters a new brotherhood, a greater state, and the real United States. Stone Mountain has a history far beyond the Confederate symbolism. The park opened 100 years to the day of President Lincoln's death. By 2015, it was the most visited destination in Georgia. The mountain is the largest piece of exposed granite in this world. Could we not repurpose, retool, and rethink Stone Mountain, the largest carbon of its kind that's on top of that mountain in the world, for a greater good? For example, in addition to the scientific and geological education for the mountain, the museum could become a living history museum, similar to the one where history is attractively taught to all ages in various modalities, appreciating Native Americans, African Americans, and Anglo-Americans. A living history tribute to many cultures, eras, and people could foster a truer story of where we were, where we've come from, and who we are. Could we reconstruct the laser show so that we wouldn't just glorify the carving, but use that carving to teach our nation's history, how far we've come as a people, and inspire our brothers and sisters of the world as we ring the freedom bell from the top of the mountain. As we enter the gates of this park, the Stone Mountain pathways could be rewritten to entice us to not only explore every aspect of the park, but to inspire us to connect the historical dots throughout Georgia, the South, and the United States, so as to learn from the past, make the future better, and guide us into a more perfect union. Thank you.
I'm sorry. My name is Barry Cobalt. I made a request to speak to the Stone Mountain Memorial Association back in September. The dates changed. It's my name on the list of all.
All right, you may go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Again, my name is Barry Cobalt. I paid $42 to come into the park. Other groups, SMAC is here. They get to make demands. apparently not only get 90 minutes to speak, but then they also dominate the room again. My goal, if I can make some demands myself, I'd like to see more streets named after Confederate generals, including Nathan Bedford Forrest, General Longstreet, General Wofford, and other generals. I'd like to see more diversity in the park, named after Confederate, black Confederates that served, including Amos Rucker, Neptune Smalls, and I know you're going to do a presentation on William Washington King. You ought to mention Horace King, bridge builder for the Confederates. I don't understand when people talk about diversity, when you went into DeKalb County and they burned an effigy in Stone Mountain Park, then they went over and destroyed the monument by spreading feces on it, tore it down, then dumped paint on a World War I memorial and a Civil War camp. And then removed Thomas Jefferson of all people. I don't understand the politics that goes on, but I want to say, I paid for to come in and see that memorial. And there's hundreds of other people like me that pay their money to come into the park to see the memorial. And they can't be here today because they work for it. But my goal is to see these parks to represent all soldiers of Confederacy. It's a veterans park. And the goal is to go after the park. These people have no interest in the street names, they have no interest in the flags. If you want a flag, there's hundreds of flags of the Confederacy. If you're offended by one, there's several others. As far as also, too, my request is to clean the carving. And there's people that help raise